Welcome to the Connectable podcast.
The Connectable podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
There we go. I have to be careful with those screenshots because one time we took a screenshot and the guy's eyes were closed. I'm like, I can't use that. So now we take the screenshot, I check really quick, and then I make sure everybody's...
And then you make sure it's good to go.
Yeah, like if my eyes were closed, I don't care. If Deb's eyes were closed, that would be awesome. And I'd find that hilarious. I'd probably still post it. But like, we can't do it to our guests. So...
Right. No, totally.
No, not at all. So... and that's the start of the podcast. That's how we're going to start the podcast. We don't have an official intro to this thing. So if you guys are just listening and not watching the video version of this, you'll notice that Deb's not here, but that's okay because we have an awesome guest, Ryane Hughes. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. We were talking beforehand. This is a very last minute thing, so I do appreciate this.
No, it's no big deal.
Yeah, we start off the show by talking about how we're connected to our guests. And so you and I actually went to middle school together.
We did.
So I said this last time we did a podcast together. I feel like I went to high school with you. I feel like I went to college with you. I don't know how you feel.
No, I totally agree. Like, I feel like we never went away from each other in a way. Like, it's always like we were like, I don't know, knew what was going on.
It's so bizarre. Let me ask you this. That's a good place to start this whole thing. I'm sure everybody has people like this in their life, but I feel like you and maybe like a handful of other people, not people that you're close with, not people that you were friends with in high school, but just like people you had classes with and knew. I feel like there's probably 5 or 6 people that I just, for whatever reason, since like middle school, high school, I just keep running into. And you just happen to be one of those people.
Right.
All the time. Like, I feel like, I was joking with my wife, Rachel. I feel like there was a stretch of time where you and I just kept running into each other at Safeway and Rose.
This is so funny. And then when your wife that one day was looking for was it Mambas?
Yeah. 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 You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know what it is, but there's just certain people in your life that you just keep running into, and it's just how it goes. It's just how it goes.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's so funny though.
Yeah. And then we played some arena softball together.
I know.
And, we won't go into this because I don't know who listens to this podcast. I know like maybe 3 or 4 people listen, but just in case it starts spreading, one of the things that you and I connected with, one of those, weird, bump-ins at the grocery store, was we do have a common connection that it's someone that you know from your spin classes that you teach, and someone that I used to work with. And that was, I feel like that was a bonding moment. I feel like,
oh my gosh, when I found out you guys knew each other, I was like, thank God. Yeah, it was always somebody else can relate.
Yeah. And I just remember, I think I told you this, the funniest thing, because you have a unique name, the way you spell it. And so sometimes people don't know how to say it. How
to pronounce it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this particular person was like, Ryane, right? Oh, I'm like, dang, I know who that is. Yeah, I went to school with her. Yeah. And he's like, oh, really? And then he started grilling me with questions. It's like, well, hold on, dude. I don't know her that well, nor would I give you this information. Like, I'm not going
to spill her personal life to you. Thank you, though.
No. I'm like, but he saw the opportunity. He's like, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for this. And I have stories of other people, other ladies at work that had stories about him.
Sure they did.
Oh, some of the best stuff. But it's funny for me because I wasn't,
well, you're like an innocent bystander and all, but you're kind of just like, oh, I'm seeing this unfold.
Exactly. A funny story. So I work in the same building as my mom, and my dad actually used to work there as well. And there was this one lady who was like very, very nice lady, but she got a little bit too free with how close she wanted to get with you. And some of the conversations kind of went in uncomfortable directions. So my dad knew this, and I was working in the mailroom and I was delivering mail around the office. Now, anytime my dad ever saw me, he would say hi to me. Okay. He would say something to me. This one moment he saw this woman talking to me, he walked right past me. Like he didn't even know me.
Even like try to help you out.
Nothing. Didn't make eye contact. Didn't even acknowledge my existence. And then
he
later,
left you in the trenches taking grenades, man.
No shame. No shame. And later I saw him, maybe like 5 minutes later, I finished my mail route and he was at the elevator. He's like, hey, how's it going? You know how it's going. You saw me, dude. Yeah. So I guess that was kind of payback. You know what I mean?
My gosh,
it got me
so
later.
good.
Yeah.
He probably saw the look on your face too, like, save me. And he was like, no.
Oh yeah. No, that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. Because he knows. And like I said, those conversations get really, really uncomfortable with that particular person. So
right.
Yeah, there was no, like, the father's heart, none of that. He's like, I don't know this dude. He's not
Right. You are on your own here, but I don't know you.
Yeah, he's like, Josh can be mad at me. That's fine. I have 2 other sons and a daughter. I'll be fine if you don't like me. It's like, it's all good. You know what I mean? So.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yeah, but that's how we know each other. Basically went to middle school together, and like we just kept bumping into each other, in the years following that. So,
I know, so crazy.
Yeah, and then obviously, I played baseball with your boyfriend, and him and I have connected on a couple of things, like with the Character Combine podcast. So
I was gonna say he was on your podcast.
Yeah, he was on the podcast by himself, and then around Christmas time we did an episode with you and him,
yeah,
you and PJ, and then. Now I thought, hey, it's your turn to do a solo episode. So
yeah,
I'm definitely grateful that you were willing to do it.
I'm up to bat.
Yep, you're up to bat. Let's see what you got, and then we can compare episode downloads. See how you guys do. Have a little couple of competition.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd win.
Okay, that's a good place to start. And just so everybody knows, this one's gonna be all over the place. So if you're expecting some kind of direction, not gonna get it.
We're not going there.
No way. But since you brought up the competition thing, if anybody's listening and you were a fan or are a fan of the Character Combine podcast, at the beginning of this year, 2021, we did a bracket for, all of our 32 guests, and we did this guest of the year bracket, and we had people vote. And it's one of those things where you think, okay, I hope this goes well. Otherwise, it's going to be really dumb and it's going to be a waste of time. It went even better than we thought. And I should have known that all of you guys are psychopaths and are super competitive, specifically you and PJ, because you guys had put up like ridiculous numbers, and you just happened to lose to a guy that could put up even more ridiculous
numbers. I know.
But yeah, so when you say you're competitive and you say you're going to win, I completely believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll fight him to the death.
And if everybody can hear that laugh, she's serious. That's like a crazy laugh. Like
at one point during that competition, I had messaged an old friend that I worked with, and I was like, please vote for us. And he was like, oh, my daughter like trains with him. And he's like, this is tough. And I was like, you better vote for me. I was like, I've known you longer. And he was like, okay, all right, you have my vote, but don't tell anyone.
That's awesome. Now everybody knows. So hopefully Daniel didn't.
I won't out him though.
Oh, there you go. But no, it was a fun competition, and you guys happened to be involved in like the wildest competition around, because you went up against Coach Lane, who's he's a gymnastics coach, like a tumbling coach, and he also is like a motivational speaker. And so you guys went down to the wire, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, I hope this doesn't come down to a tie. I said, because I have no tiebreaker. Like, I wasn't prepared for this.
We don't have a plan here for this.
I'm like,
there is no plan B.
Exactly. I'm like, this can't happen. And of course, you guys didn't make it easy on me. And it was, as soon as I, hit the buzzer, you guys tied. I'm like, dang. And so luckily my wife, being smarter than me, she's like, well, why don't you just extend it for an hour? I'm like, that's genius. And so we just extended it, and you guys just kept going back and forth. Like, he hopped on a IG live. You guys,
I know, I saw that. I was dying.
Like, what is going on? And it was really close at the end to coming down to another tie. I'm like, if we go until midnight, we go until midnight. Who wants it more? So that was a lot of fun. It stressed me out, but I'm glad.
Oh my God, it stressed me out. I was like, when do we go to bed?
I know, seriously. I'm like, it was the most stressful thing. I'm like, well, I'm going to just stay up until midnight to make sure these things are accurate, and then I'm going to have to wake up early to get this thing posted. It was a wild thing, but it was fun. But all that to say, it was a lot of fun. You guys are super competitive, and I've seen it firsthand.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Hey, just another random side thought. Today on your Instagram stories, did you post about the Enneagram, or is that someone else? That was you. What are you?
I'm a 2. I'm a
You're
giver.
A 2. That's what I am too.
Oh, really? That's so funny. I thought
I saw that you were an 8.
This is why we've been friends for so long.
That might be it. That might be it. I don't know why I thought, I didn't look before we started recording. I thought you were an 8 for some reason. Or maybe it was PJ's an 8?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I like PJ too. Because I think according to that chart, we should be like, we're the polar opposites of each other. Right? 2 and 8 are across from each other.
Yeah. 2 and 8 are across from each other.
What is 8 again?
8 is shoot. I pay attention to mine.
Yeah. There you go.
But
Let me see.
I was gonna say I can look it up.
Oh, the challenger. Powerful, dominating, protective.
He is protective.
There we go. Okay. That's a good thing then.
Yeah.
That's
self-confident, strong, and assertive. Yeah.
Okay. And then you're the helper.
Yeah, and the giver.
And you guys are dating.
I know.
How in the world does that go? It's not a dating show, but
I know. We definitely so I don't know. This is probably going off on a tangent on an opposite direction, but PJ and I moved in together after 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, quick.
Yeah. And well, my lease was actually coming on my apartment, long story short. And he was like, well, why don't you just move in here after it actually found a place? And I was like, okay. And so we did it. And at first, honestly, it was actually a challenge because we actually have polar opposite personalities. And it was okay, so you like things done that way. I like things done this way. Come to common ground, all that kind of stuff. You figure out each other's love languages, and we've taken that test. We've taken the Enneagram test. PJ's more acts of service, and I'm more gifts and words of affirmation.
Okay.
And so that was definitely something to and I think all these tests are so good to figure out each other's personalities. Is it dig deeper than just surface level? And so I don't know. I totally recommend people taking the love language test and the Enneagram test. It just helps you figure out so much, almost kind of going to counseling, but you're figuring out other things on your own.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's almost, not to go the sports route again, but it's almost like a game plan, or it gives you,
100%.
It's you study before a game to learn, you're talking baseball, you study the pitcher's tendencies, you study the batter's tendencies.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing, right? So it's it doesn't guarantee results, but it gives you a better idea of how that person operates and how to communicate with them.
100%. And that communication is so huge for me. And so it's okay, so how do we communicate that you want this way and I want this way, and we have a common middle ground we can meet on?
Right. Exactly. And I think I think sometimes those things, you hear the love language test and you're okay. Or you hear personality tests and you think about the ones on Facebook that, it's which office character are you like? It's no,
right.
There's some out there that are pretty legit. And I think are pretty useful tools in a relationship, even friendships, I think.
Oh, I have friends that we all took the Enneagram test, and we actually all now have a group text about certain things. And it's we have a friend that's a 9, we have a friend that's a 1, and we seriously crack up about the memes we find about it online. And I'm this is so you, this is so you, or this, they'll send me things about me, and I'm about really crack up. It just shows our challenges. Enneagrams have wings, which are people that are or Enneagrams are like you, or your personality traits that are like you. And it's seriously so interesting to me.
Oh, it's super interesting. We actually Deb and I did a whole episode on the Character Combine about that.
Really? I'll have to listen to that because I love that.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was okay. I think we're I don't know how we're going to make this into a coach's thing, but we figured it out. But it was pretty interesting. I think we took the angle of hey, if not saying a coach should do the Enneagram test, I mean, it'd probably be a good thing, or have their whole team do it, but it would be beneficial.
I would say have your whole team do it. You kind of figure out why they are the way they are. If they're not coachable, why are they not coachable? Or if they are coachable, why are they always saying yes? Or why are they always saying no? Or something like that. I don't know. It's just it digs deep on so many different levels.
Yeah. And that's what I think that was kind of the point we came around to, is if you guys have time to do it, it probably would be super beneficial, because I think there's a lot you can learn. And again, just like any relationship, it's going to help you avoid a lot of issues, potentially.
Oh, 100%. And like I said, I totally understand so much about PJ more, even more now. I feel like I said, he loves acts of service, and I teach at 5:30 a.m. on Thursdays and Fridays. And I always bring him coffee and breakfast every Thursday and Friday because I'm up, I'm out, and it's like, all right, well, I'll just grab it on my way home. And that's something he likes and appreciates. So I think it's helped. Like, it's not something I think that he could have told me that he likes. Like, I like gifts. Thank you.
He could have, right? But it would have been kind of weird.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
okay, cool. Like, what does that mean? What do I do with that information?
Yes.
That's a good point. Maybe we just say that right here, wrap it up in a nice bow. Just let the test speak for you. So you don't have to say awkward things like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Please find me things.
Yeah. Do something nice for me. Like,
do something nice for me. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. You know what I used to hate, because I majored in communications. So I did a lot of those types of
personality tests. Yeah.
A ton. And the thing that I knew how it would go down every time. Sometimes we would break up into groups and they'd say, okay, take this personality test. And then 30 minutes later, they say, okay, now that you guys are all done and you guys scored it, we want to, break up into different parts of the room to see how many of each of you are in these different, groups. And every time I just knew how it would go, because I'm a 2, and typically, like, I always find myself in like the female, like more female dominated category. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, every time. And I joke with people, like, obviously Rachel and I were dating for a long time, but during those times when I was taking that test, I'm like, if I was single, this would have been fantastic. But unfortunately I wasn't. And I just could never take advantage of that. You know what I mean?
Do you know what her Enneagram is?
Oh, I can't remember. She took it or did she take it? I can't remember. Let me see.
If you had to guess, what do you think she is?
She might be a 2 as well.
Oh, I love this. I feel like I could see her as a 1 though, too.
1, the reformer, rational idea. That's a good point. You might know my wife better than I do. This is embarrassing. Dang. Why'd you have to ask that question?
I know. I feel like she could be a 1. Like, I feel like she is very organized and likes things like a certain way, but like not like overly OCD. Right. And she gets things done. She's motivated. She's very to the point on how she likes, like, direct on how she says things. Like, she knows what she wants. That's pretty good. I don't know Rachel that well, but I feel like I get that vibe.
That's a pretty good description of her. I'm going to ask her afterwards. I'll have to let you know.
Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah. Who knows? She might be an 8 too. And I just have no idea. And I've just been
be an 8.
Yeah. We're living in the same situation.
Yeah. That'd be so funny.
I don't think so.
I feel like she has a good, like, strong personality. That's why I said I thought she was direct. And so I feel like she could be an 8 because they're pretty direct as well. Like, they're strong.
Yeah. I don't think it's an 8 because I feel like I would have made a ton of jokes about that. Like, I don't even know why we're together, but I think, and I feel like she would have gotten upset about that. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's a super interesting test, but like I said, I saw that on your stories today. I was thinking it was you that I saw that.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, it's a really interesting test. And I agree with you. I think anybody who is interested should definitely take it. I think it's a good
I feel like I said, it's like, I feel like it almost goes back to like you could go to counseling and try to figure out each other, or you can literally take this test and it kind of digs deep, and then you can like have a conversation and be like, oh, okay, these are my traits. These are your traits. These are things that are about your personality and so spot on, and we can move on and go from there. Right. And like you said, like, it goes back to the communication all over again though. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so it's interesting too, because I don't know how this it's kind of a transition into a different topic, but I was thinking you might be a different, Enneagram number because you are a spin instructor.
Yes.
And so a 2 would seem like a weird, like, fit, doesn't it?
I mean, kind of. I feel like maybe I'm still kind of goes with me though. Like, it's like I give everybody everything I've got when I'm up there. So, and I'm always like checking to make sure after class, did you like it? Is there anything you didn't like? Like, very concerned on how people feel about me, which definitely goes back to being a 2. Like, over rationalizing things, making sure people like you, like, all that stuff. So, I still think it fits in the realm of being a 2.
I guess that makes sense.
I mean, I feel like it's kind of like you having a podcast though. I mean, you're sitting here giving it everything you've got to like your audience, and just, I guess you're kind of like an instructor in just a different way.
That's very kind. I would definitely not say I'm an instructor, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't think anybody, even if Deb was here, it's like no one thinks of us as instructors, but I get your point and I do appreciate that. But yeah, like it's a little bit more, because I always think of twos as more, a little bit more introverted. That's how I see it in my mind, but maybe that's the wrong way of looking at it, because that's just me. I'm more introverted, but like you said, I have a podcast.
I feel like once I'm home, I'm introverted. Once I'm out, I'm extroverted. Like,
Oh yeah. Okay.
like I have these switches, like going outside the house, but when I'm home, I'm like silent and don't talk very much. And like, I'm like constantly trying to do stuff around the house or like playing with the dogs and very like focused on that kind of stuff. And I don't know, like I have, for every like all this energy that I exert out of the home, I have to like rein it back in and like recharge. So, I know, I think it still goes along with it too, as well. Just like having, like being, when you're home, you're like home. Like, it's like, we are in the home, we are in our safe space.
Yeah. Yeah. Safe space. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. Like we actually talked about this on a previous episode. We were talking about, I forgot what we titled it. I don't know. I can't remember the title of it, but we were talking about personalities and we were talking about introverts versus extroverts. And I think Deb was saying that one of her students was saying something about being an ambivert, which is basically,
I've never heard of that.
Me neither. And she said her student said this. I'm like, okay, I don't know where you got this information. I don't know if you can trust this student, but I'm not going to just like blast this out there in the air. So we looked it up, and it's like, it's someone who's kind of both. Like they exhibit traits of both an introvert and an extrovert.
Okay, that's me.
I think that's most people. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a podcast, 2 podcasts. I talk all the time. You ask Rachel and people I'm close with, like I never shut up. Like I really think that Rachel thought that me doing a podcast and doing 2 podcasts would like get all of my talking out. And she's like, no, he still doesn't shut up. But that being said, around people that like I'm not as familiar with, like I'm way more reserved. And I'm not super social either. Like I just don't go out very much. Even prior to kids, I still just don't go out very much. Like it's just never really been my thing. I'm more of a homebody, and like I keep the friend circle, like close friends, pretty tight.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't even know how much like I've talked compared to you on this podcast, but I feel like the ratio is pretty off. Like I have not shut up the entire time. You know what I mean? So it just comes out in different forms. It's weird.
That's so funny. When PJ's home, I feel like he talks a lot, and that's when I kind of just like take it all in. When I'm out, I talk a lot, and he doesn't say like anything. PJ's very introverted when it comes to being out. He's just, that's not his realm. He just like observes the situation. That's and I could like talk to a rock outside.
Yeah. That's a good trait though. That's why you guys are together. You guys balance each other out. But see, that's interesting because I don't know. I mean, PJ and I played baseball together our entire lives. Like I said, I've always been like, my personality has come out more over recent years. Like I remember back in middle school, high school, like I was always super quiet. And so I can't say I know PJ super well, but I remember he was always involved in everything. Like during high school, it's like he was just all over the place. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, I thought he would just be like,
he's involved in a lot, but it takes him a while to kind of like warm up to situations.
Oh, interesting.
Like he definitely, like I said, it very much observes it first.
Okay.
And I'll like, compared to like me, where I'll just like jump in and I'm like, hi, how can I help? How are you? What can I like, or like talking to somebody in line at the grocery store. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did you find that? Oh my gosh, those flowers are so pretty. And he's like, why do you have to do this? You talk to everyone.
Yeah. I've been accused of that a couple of times at the store, not with random people, but like I love starting conversations with the workers there. I don't know what my problem is. I just do it. My brother's like, why do you do that every time? I said, I don't know. I can't help it. It just happens.
I make friends like on the airplane, like, and I'm friends with them on Facebook. Yeah. And I'm like, it's people that I've like just met, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And no joke, like friends with them still to this day on Facebook. That's
pretty good. I can't say I do that. I definitely don't do that. I'm like, who is this
PJ does not. He's like, AirPods, please don't talk to me. And I'm like, hi, where are you from?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
That's perfect. Again, that's why you guys are together, because he can put his earpods in and you're like the barrier between him and the person that wants to really talk to him.
Yes.
It's like, I got this.
I mean, I'm very much aware of my surroundings. So if the person does not want to talk to me, I'm like, okay, we'll shut this down. but
which is good because we know people that don't do that.
right, exactly.
It's like, oh gosh. And you can tell too when you go into those situations, like I can tell this person's a talker because I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
not getting out of this one for a while.
Yeah, and you based on your Instagram and social media, you guys travel way more than I do. But when you're like on a plane or when you're in a public place, you can tell that person starts looking at you first, and they're trying to make the eye contact, and
Right, like they really have something to say that they want to get off their chest.
and they're just waiting. It's like as soon as we lock eyes,
It's like hook, line, and sinker, and you're
yeah,
like,
I'm like,
I'm hooked. Yes,
yeah,
I make
like
eye contact.
yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
going back.
Yeah, I've had some weird interactions with people at the grocery store. I won't go into it, but one lady said something to me so off the wall. I'm like, all right. And then her husband followed up with like, you guys are doing this as a couple? Like you guys are just talking to people about this as a couple? Like what is going on? It was just something that, yeah, it was very bizarre. I won't go into it, but it was.
Some people. I mean, it takes all types to make the world go round, but.
There we go. Some could probably just tone it down a little bit.
They could probably not go around the world.
Yeah. Just maybe pick a spot, stay there, and then let everybody else know where you're at. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So funny.
Okay, so speaking of spinning around, see, I did that. That's a professional
Yes,
segue.
I like that.
So, how did you get involved in like instructing spin? How did you get involved in that whole world? Because like you guys are really into it. Even like I've seen PJ is, like you said, helping you out. He did the videos when the pandemic, was going down, or it was still kind of going down.
Done a ton.
Yeah.
We're pretty like, I mean, you know this about us, we're like pretty community based. And so we actually like will ride all over, like even places like I don't even work. We've ridden in like East Sacramento, downtown, Orangevale, Folsom, Placerville. I mean, every time we travel, we find a spin studio too. We just the community at any gym is honestly really great. PJ actually really loves to spin at Lifetime as well. They have a lot of really good instructors there. And so I mean, getting involved in spin, I used to work downtown and there was a studio close by and I hated the traffic downtown to come home. So sometimes I would either catch a spin class before work and then I could just like walk to work, or I'd catch a spin class after work. And by the time I was done after spin, I could just drive home in an easy traffic and not have to worry about any of that. So I kind of actually got involved just being like, I hate traffic. What can I do?
Okay. Okay. That's perfect.
So I rode at a studio downtown for like 2 years, and then a studio opened up closer to me where I work now. And then I stopped working downtown and I started actually working in the Bay Area, which was even worse, the traffic.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was like, I don't want to deal with traffic either here. So I actually got a job at a spin studio in Walnut Creek.
Whoa. Okay.
And I leave the house at 3 a.m. and teach at 5:30 a.m. and then go to work.
Oh my gosh.
I know, but it was like, I had to leave at like 4 anyway, usually to get there and be out of traffic because it would take like 3 hours. That I was like, well, if I just left even earlier and got in a spin class and taught and got paid to do it, like, I feel like it's been like revolving around traffic, which has been so weird.
That is weird. I didn't realize that.
With the pandemic, a lot of studios have closed. So that studio in Walnut Creek did close. And then I now work from home 100% now. I don't think they'll ever send me back. And they're just saving too much money now with us being at home. But I actually now also teach at a gym in Placerville. Totally like different from what I've ever done. It's actually at Kaia Fit Placerville, and they just opened a new location like back in October or November. They moved from an old location and it's like huge now. It's so clean and like beautiful, and they've done so much good to it. And then, so this is the only Kaia Fit in all of California, I think now, that actually has spin bikes. So this has been a different transition for sure. I usually teach out of the saddle cycle, and you use a lot of like your core, and she wants it more, the owner of the Kaia Fit wants it like more in the saddle, like heavy hills, like all these things. And it's been like so fun, learning something different, using different bikes, meeting new people. So I'm like in Placerville a lot now, and it's a different community for sure. And they're like so funny. They call us people down the hill Flatlanders, and they're so nice. And it's just been like the most fun thing that I've been doing since like November, I believe, maybe October.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so that's been like different and fun. And then now that gyms are back open, PJ's back at Lifetime doing a lot of that stuff. Like now he's able to like lift weights and then do spin, or spin weights, spin and then do weights. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. I was working at 4 gyms and now I work at 2. But, and only 1 remained of the 4 that was, that I was working at, throughout all this. And then it's been nice that Kaia Fit was able to like move into a new location that was even bigger, and throughout the pandemic, and make it different than any other Kaia Fit, because they're all franchise. So that's really cool for them too. So but yeah, it started with traffic.
There you go. Simple enough. That's crazy.
Well, I actually even like, I never thought I'd become an instructor ever. I was asked 3 times to become an instructor, and I literally was like, no, I don't want this not to be fun for me anymore. And I was very nervous about that. Very nervous. Like I played soccer like my whole life. My dad's from England, and it was like soccer was like ingrained in me. And like at one point I was like, this isn't fun for me anymore. Like it just became like so much all the time, and traveling teams and competitive soccer and all that stuff. And I was just like, I want to hang out with my friends on the weekends. I don't want to go to soccer tournaments. I mean, not that the people on my team weren't friends, but like you make different friends throughout your years that people aren't necessarily a part of your team. But yeah, but it hasn't been anything that's I've been burnt out on yet, because there's always ways to make it different, I think, which is nice. And there's always different music coming out, and you always meet new people move to the area. It's like I said, the Placerville spin studio has been like really nice, just meeting so many different new people from all walks of life that and I really do like love Placerville. I mean, it's like such a fun town, and it gives you that old town feel. So that's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Like you said, start with traffic, but it's developed into this like whole passion that you have.
And like I said, a big community. It's just like so cool.
Well, I was going to say, so I have a couple questions based off what you said. First, I'll start here. So when this person reached out to you and said, hey, I think you should be a spin instructor, like, I'm sure they're not just reaching out to every person that's there. So what was it about you that they saw that they said, hey, enough's enough. Just get up in front of the class and start teaching?
So in the type of cycle that I am familiar with teaching is rhythm-based cycle. And so you ride to the beat of the music. It can be hard to catch that double time beat and figure out how to ride that out of the saddle with enough resistance, engaging parts of your core so you're not like bouncing or hurting yourself. And I mean, it didn't take me, it wasn't right off the bat that I got something like this. Like I said, I rode for like 2 years downtown, and I remember at one point I rode 37 times in 30 days because I was like, I need to get this. I need to figure this out. Like it did not click for me. But by the time I was riding at the studio that had opened near my house, I had understood it. And so I came in just already being like, to this new studio, being like, riding it, no problem. And they were like, oh, you're good. And I was like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I just like to work out here.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, like you're good enough to like be on the podium. And I was like, oh, no. Good luck with that though.
Yeah.
And they
awesome.
asked me again and again, and I was just like, okay, I'll give it a try. And honestly, I went through training and it was like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And because it just challenged you so much every training. And at one point I was like, is this not going to be fun for me? Because training was so hard. And I would like drive home like exhausted. I worked a full-time job. Most people in the industry of fitness, their full-time job is fitness and not as something outside of that. Or this is like their hobby, kind of like me. But then don't have a full-time job necessarily. So it was hard, definitely working 40 hours a week, writing and going to training. And I was just like burnt. And I was like, and like I said, I was really worried that this was not going to be something that I'd want to do, but it ended up being like great. I remember the day before I went on the podium, I was like, I don't think I'm ready to teach. And they were like, what? I just didn't have like that confidence. Like, I was just like, I'm just a writer. I'm not an instructor.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, I've never done a spin class. I should. I've never done it. It kind of scares me. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I from what I see of it, I imagine like you're taking, because you're basically public speaking in a sense, right?
Right.
And then mixing that with like you're also kind of performing, like what you're like giving an example of what they need to do. So it's not just the anxiety you would get public speaking, but you also have this other thing that you have to perform as well. So I can imagine that would be a stressful thing for the first time.
Oh, I feel like even still, like it takes me like till 2 or 3 songs before I'm like really comfortable. I feel like that it goes almost back to being like my Enneagram too. Like I'm like, okay, well, do they like this? Is this okay? How is the energy? How are they reacting? Like, is this too hard? Is this too easy? Are they bored? Like so much goes through your mind that you're like, oh my gosh, well, this pre-workout, please kick in.
That's good. I feel like the pre-workout would make my heart just go through the roof.
Okay, I only take like a third of a scoop. I can't handle it at all.
Oh,
like,
okay, perfect.
No.
That makes sense. No.
Yeah, no. I don't know how people take pre-workout. I see girls taking full scoops, fat burners, like all these things, and I'm like, I don't know. My heart, I feel like would just give out up there.
Your heart's like, no, we're good. Not doing this today.
Yeah.
See ya.
So no, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So, but now I mean, like you said, you still get that a little like anxiety a little bit, but now you're just like, you're in it. 'Cause you've been doing it for how many years?
5 years in July.
Dang, that's a decent amount of time. It's a decent amount of time. That's awesome. I follow, I think her name's Angela Manuel Davis on Instagram. I think she's based, I think in LA, and her stuff's very intense. Like she just posts dope videos. I'm like, I don't do these spin things, but like what you're posting is super motivational. I enjoy that part of it, but yeah, it's crazy how it's just taken off over the last however many years.
I know, and I kind of thought it would be like a fad.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I really thought it would probably like die off, but it hasn't. It's grown. The industry is insane. People are opening up spin studios everywhere. I mean, I would honestly love to own one day. That'd be like a dream come true. It's obviously very expensive. Spin bikes are not cheap. And it's a big risk, especially since the market is a little bit saturated. But yeah, I mean, especially we just got back from Newport Beach, and down there there had to have been at least 20 spin studios within like our realm, and like between Huntington, Newport, Costa Mesa, like so many. So
yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you guys will probably have one day. Just the way you guys operate, I'm like, they're gonna have one probably next week.
I would love it.
Yeah, absolutely
love it. I think it'd be like just so fun. I think it'd be in a way it'd be like a bummer at first, because I don't think I'd put myself on a spin bike for like a year until like everything really got like smooth and going and like awesome. So that'd be kind of a bummer to be like not teaching, but yeah, big dream of ours.
Nice. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I always feel like with certain, obviously like we've had like CrossFitters on before, spin classes. There's a couple of different, like, especially in the fitness world, there's these pockets of fitness that I feel like these massive, it's like a massive tribe. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
once you're in that community, once you're in that group,
We're never going to let you go.
Exactly. You're stuck. You're stuck. And so, which is such a cool part of it though, because I think that's, we obviously there's the health benefits of it, the getting in better shape and just feeling better about yourself. But like, I have to imagine one of the biggest pieces of that is the community that you become a part of. Like, how much do you just love that aspect of it?
I mean, I like love talking to like everyone about, I don't know, that their Uncle Ricky's coming in town from Tennessee tomorrow and they haven't seen him in 10 years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so cool. And like hearing it just like, I mean, I have seen babies born 5 years ago and their kids are 5 years old now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've seen this kid grow up at daycare, at spin. Like, it's, I don't know. I love meeting new people. Like I actually love people. So I like love this. And like I said, it's been neat being in Placerville for me because it's just like, I didn't grow up there. A lot of people that live there have stayed there and know everyone, especially in Placerville. So like everyone there knows everyone. They walk there and they're like, oh yeah, you're Jenny's sister. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone really knows everyone here. This is crazy. So I feel like I've been like this outsider coming in because they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, Folsom. They're like, oh, that they think it's so far too, by the way. When
Really?
I used to work downtown and the Bay Area too, people were like, Folsom's so far. And I'm like, it's 20 minutes. I mean, Placerville is 20 minutes. It's only a few exits. Like I live in Folsom, like right next to the freeway. So it's like nothing to me, I feel like. But yeah, people in Placerville think that Folsom is so far. People in Folsom think that Placerville is so far. People in Sacramento think that Folsom is so far. People in Folsom think Sacramento is so far. Like all these things, I'm like, this is so funny to me. Like people kind of stay in their bubbles. And so when you become a part of their bubble a little bit, you're kind of like, oh, you kind of like things start to make sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, that is interesting. I do think I have heard that before because I kind of work in the Rancho Cordova area.
Oh yeah.
But I lived the majority of my life in Orangeville and
yeah.
So like just kind of being in that area, you just feel like, I guess I never really thought about it, but you're right. I think people do assume that, if you live in Sacramento and you're going all the way to Folsom, why?
Why
are you
know.
going to Folsom? And for me, it's like, it's not that far, but I guess compared to where I like was living for the majority of my life, it really wasn't that far. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's interesting. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just the coolest part of that. Like I said, I haven't thought it's cool enough for me to actually join a spin class, but I do think the community aspect of that is really cool because I feel like people are just happy when you see the pictures of like, all of you guys together after a class or before class. Like, it just seems like, if you're having a stressful week, that's the place to go.
That's the place to go. And that's going to help you through it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And not just because
I've gotten emotional during my spin classes before. Like, it's like, you get in there, some days I ever have to have a bad day and you're just like, okay, I'm in this dark room. Let's do this. Like, let's kick some ass.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I've heard other people say that too, where they're like, it just like is overwhelming almost.
Yeah.
So interesting.
It can be. But they call me the drill sergeant. So sometimes my classes like aren't very emotional. I just am there to like make you work.
That's where that Enneagram 8 comes out.
Yes.
Like, like, where's the 2? Not here today.
Not here today. No, I literally say that all the time. I'm like, are we ready to party? Watch this.
There you go. So do you have control over the music too? Or is that like a preset thing? Okay. You pick all that stuff. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which it's a lot of work because I can make a playlist in 5 minutes if I wanted to, or I spend most of my time trying to like really find like new music. Like I fall on New Music Friday on Spotify. Or honestly, TikTok is huge right now, huge. And so I'll go to like TikTok top songs and make sure I'm playing those because that's like trending, or even Instagram Reels top songs. Those are trending. So I'll make sure I'm like always staying in the know. And it was interesting because everyone's like, you're going on vacation to Newport. This is so exciting. And I was like, I'm kind of excited not to make a playlist. It's like, I can never listen to music now without being like, oh, this would be a good song for that. Or I don't think this would be a very good song for that. Like always like thinking. And so it was kind of nice to just kind of like shut off for like a week. Like I was like,
sense.
but yeah, so music is, I mean, I love music so much. There's like so much you can tell. There's so much, it can make you feel sad, it can make you feel happy. But yeah, so much goes into it for a spin class, like at least for me. I mean, some people may just be like, this is a good song and I'm gonna put it in there. But I want to make sure I'm always like staying up to date on like what people are like listening to right now. So
probably smart. Yeah. And I imagine that would be a lot of work, especially if something you're passionate about, like you're going to be passionate about every little aspect of it. And obviously that's a big part of it. Can you imagine if there was a spin class with just no music? How
no.
brutal would that be?
Well, so I will say I went to Florida to visit my grandpa like a few years ago, and on his little, like, he lived in like a senior like area. And so they had like a, what do they call those? Like a little like rec room type thing. And
Sure.
there's a lady that gave spin classes, and I was like, I'll go. And it was a projection screen that came down, and you would like ride through the meadows, and there was no music. And she was like, pretend we're going up a hill now. And I was like, okay, yep, not doing this again. But I think it helped. I think the seniors really loved it, but I was like, I can't get into this. I can't get into this.
Oh, that'd be tough.
Yeah. But yeah, this projection screen. And so when I teach, when most people teach, they teach facing the crowd. She taught with her back to us, looking at the screen too. And I was like, okay, all right. And she was just pointing us in directions, and like, she kind of cracked me up though, because she was like, watch out for the trees. And I'm like you're like, have to, I literally was like, I can't do this anymore.
That's brutal. I feel for
she
everybody.
was giving it her all, so I'll give her that. And she was like 68 years old, and I was like, you know what, you're something.
That's the main thing. That's like those bikes at I think they used to have those bikes at Kaia Fit, didn't they, where you would ride them and there was like a picture of like trails and roads.
Yes, this is exactly how it was.
That's awesome. That's
but with
amazing.
the projection screen that came down to do that. When
Right.
it came down, I was like, what's happening right now?
Yeah. It's like, it sounds like a Tony Robbins presentation or something.
I know, you're like, what did I just get myself into? This is multi-level marketing stuff. What's going on?
Yeah. I really hate that stuff. I'm glad I'm glad you brought that up. I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm sure we have people that listen that do that, but that stuff drives me nuts. So
yeah, I mean, I'm
oh
really,
no, you do it?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I'm like, whoops.
But
that's the end of the podcast. Sorry, I offended the guest.
Everybody, I have a lot of friends that do it, and I want to support everyone that does it, because I'm just like, most of them are moms who are just trying to like make it work. Sure. And not all the products are bad, obviously, but I find myself almost buying too much, because I'm like, oh, I'll support you, I'll buy that. I'll support you, I'll buy that. Oh, and I'm like, and PJ's like, we have all this stuff and you're not using it. And I'm like, I'm just trying to be a good friend. This is where my Enneagram 2 comes back again.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good, you're right. It's a good point. There's people that are trying to make it, and I appreciate that fact. I think there's certain aspects of it that I'm like, can we try a little harder? Like, I feel like there's some stuff where it's like,
please just don't reach out to me because we went to high school 12 years ago and now you want to like get me to sign up with you. Like, please don't do that.
That's tough, because there's a level of inauthenticity. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not authentic. I don't know.
And I feel like a lot of the messages are like the same. Like, I feel like you'd be so good at this. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to. Right.
You'd probably be great. But you know, it's tough.
But I'd have to want to do that.
Right, exactly. You know what? This drives me nuts. And I don't know what it is about me. I don't know if it's just I have an approachable demeanor. I don't know what it is. But over the last like 5 years, I'll be at a grocery store or like.
Okay, do random people approach you?
Yes.
Okay, this has happened to me and people like don't believe me.
Okay, it's the weirdest thing. And I know these suckers now. Like, I know.
I feel like they know Ryane Hughes for sure though.
That's a good point. It's like, there's a 2. We're going to go get them. Because
I've been approached at the gym. I like, not where I work, like working out at Lifetime. Yeah. Been like, hi, I really like your leggings. And then like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, oh, and then it's like, I'm a part of this company. Mm-hmm. And they don't tell you exactly what it is at first. It's happened to me at Target. It's happened to me at Lifetime. Like, I'm just like, Yes,
the gym. But you're right. They use, I tell people this, I know I could do it now. Like I could do their pitch now because they're like, they pick something about you that they like.
yes.
One dude came up, he's like, hey, those are sweet shoes. They weren't sweet shoes. My shoes
No.
had holes in them. Like I came off of work, these boots
They
had
were
holes.
sweet shoes.
They're like $30 from Kohl's. These are not cool shoes. I know that, dude. And he's like, those are sweet. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And I kind of keep going. He's like, hey, where'd you get them? I was like, oh gosh. And we keep having this conversation. And sure enough, he's like, what do you do? And I tell him, and he's like, I say, well, what do you do? And just like you say, he's like, well, I'm being mentored by a couple in my 30s. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Right. And they started this amazing business. And
every time it's like, no, I'm good, man. He's like, all right.
so I actually just recently went to Target.
Okay.
And I went to go look for elderberry gummies.
Okay.
Because it's like a good source of antioxidants and vitamin C. And I feel like this girl was just hanging out there waiting for someone like me looking for vitamin C. And she was like, oh, what are you looking for? And I said, elderberry gummies. Like looking at her like, do you work here? And she was like, oh, well, I sell Herbalife and we have stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you were literally just like poaching people right now. You were hanging out here and waiting for people like me. And I was just like, she gave me her card and everything. I was like, and then I felt like I couldn't buy elderberry gummies anymore. So I had to leave.
See, you're better than me. I would have bought like 6 packs and like, yeah,
she is still standing there. And I was like, okay, thanks. I guess I will contact you. And I was like, I had to go back.
That's brutal. I hate when they do that. And there's a part of me that's like, I appreciate the hustle because it takes balls to do that. Like, I'm not going to stand in a store and just like, hey, have you heard my podcast? Oh, here's a business card. Check it out. Like, I'll never do it. I'm just hoping that people hear it through Instagram. But no, there was one dude. So maybe like 5 years ago, this dude approached me at Rayleigh's. Same thing. I was looking at, I was picking up some like cake mix for my wife. He's like, got a birthday coming up, huh? Yeah, it's my wife's birthday, or it's one of her parents' birthdays. And I'm like, he starts talking to me. He's like, oh, I'm picking up some stuff for cycling. It's hard to get the carbs in. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are we having this conversation? And then he goes into his pitch.
What just happened here?
Right. And then so I, got away from it. And then maybe like 6 months ago from today, I was at another store. And this dude comes up and I'm like, I recognize this dude.
Stop it.
And he starts to go in his pitch. And so I'm like, I couldn't help myself because now I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm going to make this uncomfortable for them because I can't stand it. And so I'm like, you look familiar. And he's like, do I? I said, yeah, the gym.
You're like, you approached me before.
Yeah. You look super familiar. I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, it was good talking to you. And he just bailed. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. I'm not playing this anymore. I can't do it. Stop talking to me. One guy I was at Express at the mall and I was looking for a tie for a wedding. Didn't find one there. And I ended up going to JCPenney's and I saw a dude that was in Express and you could tell he was trying to like find a way over to me. I'm like, not going to happen. Then he was at JCPenney's too. And then he actually made contact with me. And the whole thing is like, hey, this is what I do. I'm like, cool, man. I'm just trying to buy a tie, dude. I'm just trying to buy a tie.
I'm in and out.
All right. So good. Well, that, like you said, maybe that's my problem. I'm a 2 and
we are just approachable.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest though. I didn't realize like I've never seen those guys approach like a woman. So it's good to know that it happens to both men and women. I had no idea.
I've only been approached by a man when it's been a couple. So I was approached by a couple in Target and a couple at the gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, both times I was like, what?
Right. It's like, and like I said, and
I did not like the gym one. I really didn't appreciate though. Cause when I'm at the gym, like, please don't talk to me. Like I'm really trying to be here for like 30 to 45 minutes and I want to be in and out. So you interrupting my workout, I'm not too thrilled about.
Right. I mean,
obviously I'm kind, but it's just like, that's so frustrating. Cause usually people are there with like a limited amount of time.
Right. That's like if they did it at the doctor's office. You're like at the doctor just waiting. It's like, hey, by the way, it's like, you don't even know what I'm here for. This could be like life devastating news.
What if you got like poached at like jury duty when you have to sit there all day? I'd be like,
oh, I'd shoot myself. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
I'd be like, I have to opt out of jury duty right now.
Yeah. And you know where it would happen? It would happen in the quiet room. Like, that quiet section. I guarantee
where nobody's supposed to talk and you're sitting there like, we're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. You get like a little elbow nudge, just like, hey, what do you do for work? I'm like, not going to happen. Just let me watch.
Don't worry.
Yeah, let me watch whatever they're running, like the Game Plan or RV, whatever movies they always play there.
I know they always play the most random movies.
Yeah, and I sit there every time like
I mean, you're invested. Like you have to be
Yeah.
invested in something.
like I want to know what's going to happen to The Rock and
You can
Little
only
Thing on Game
refresh
Plan.
Instagram so many times.
Right.
It's like the same stuff keeps popping up.
Right. That's a good point though. I'm sure one of these days I'm going to run into one of those guys, but yeah, it just drives me nuts. Like I said, anyways, that was a long tangent that I was not.
It was. We're good though.
We're good, but I'm so glad that you said it, because like the exact process and the exact steps they take in that conversation, it's like you said, hey, I like your leggings. No, you don't. You don't like my leggings. You want something.
These are 12 years old. They're from Victoria's Secret. You don't like these.
Yeah. What do you really want? Let's wrap this thing up. Yeah. Honestly, next time I'm approached by one of those guys, I think I'm just gonna say like, so what is the deal here? Like, is this the script they give you guys?
I know.
Because I've heard that
they tell you to approach strangers at the grocery store because it's unsafe.
Right. I feel like it's a dangerous thing too. Like you might like run into someone that's not having a great day and just like lose their mind. Like, I'm a safe target. Like I'm not gonna, I'm gonna.
Well, it's because we're approachable. This is our problem.
We're twos. Like
we do not have RBF, and so we're just like happy-go-lucky at the grocery store, and they're like, "That's our target." Right.
Exactly. I'm just trying to buy dinner, and he's trying to sell this product. They're gonna run into an 8 one day, and that's gonna be a problem.
They're gonna run into PJ. Yeah. He's gonna be like, he's gonna act like he's AirPods in or something.
Right. And they can't push it because PJ's a big guy. He's a friendly guy, but he's a big guy, so you can't mess with him. So
no.
Well, anyways, that was a long tangent, and I'm trying to wrap this thing up because I know you gotta get
Oh,
out.
You're good.
This has been a fun conversation though. I'm enjoying this. I feel like, typically, and I haven't done it yet. Usually when either me or Deb is not here, we talk trash about the other. I haven't done it yet. But that being said, if you're ever interested in taking Deb's spot on the podcast, you have an open door.
Oh, thank you. How fun.
Yeah. I hope you heard that, Deb. Usually our guests are like, no, I would never want to do that. But you don't know Deb. So
I'm not going to take your job, Deb.
It's too late. I'm just going to edit that part out. It's like, yeah, she was really, really wanting your job. So, so before we get out of here, a couple more things. I do want to point out the fact that, both you and PJ, if anybody follows you guys on Instagram, social media, you guys really are all over the place. You guys are doing a lot of stuff in the community. You guys are doing stuff just like with each other, traveling, all that stuff. So you guys are constantly busy. And in the middle of this pandemic, you guys decided to start the Cheesy Couples, which tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. So we started a charcuterie business. So long story short, I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus, but I used to use a girl for my.
No one listens to this. It's fine.
I used to use a girl for like my grazing boxes and stuff, like these like little like charcuterie boxes. I used to use a certain person. The pandemic hit. I had ordered a box for her for Memorial Day because obviously Billy couldn't do anything.
Sure.
And she had messaged me the day before saying, I end up getting a full-time job and I can't make your box anymore. And I'm like, I am not even upset because I feel like in the middle of the pandemic to find a full-time job, that's like huge. So I was like, okay. And PJ's like, do you think we can make this ourselves? And I'm like, I don't know. So we went to Trader Joe's. We like made this box. We like took some photos and everyone was like, who made that for you? And I was like, we made it.
Yeah.
And they were like, wait, can you make me one? And I'm like, whoa. And then literally not even a month later, probably a month later, my friend Tori was like, hey, can you do a grazing table? And I'm like, I've never done one, full disclosure. And she's like, I think you could do it. It's just like on a bigger scale than what you've been doing. And I was like, okay, well, I can give it a go. And it ended up being for her mom's like 40th birthday for like 40 people. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So we do it. Everyone's like, what are your business cards? What's your business? And I'm like, oh, I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so grazing tables are probably my favorite. And so we just kept doing grazing tables. We've done funerals, we've done birthday parties, we've done Easter parties, we've done Christmas parties, we've done like, you name it, we've like done it. So finally back in December, everyone was like, you have to make an Instagram. You have to do like, get this going. People like, you're already doing it, like make it a thing. And I'm like, all right, well, what do we call it? And so we call ourselves the Cheesy Couple.
That's an
And
awesome
we're on
name.
Instagram and Facebook. And we make individual boxes. We make boxes for 2 to 4 people, 4 to 8 people, 8+ people. And then we do grazing tables, 3x3, 4x4. Like my biggest table was like 10 feet. I did a 55th surprise birthday party just like a month ago. That was my 10-footer. It was pretty big.
10 feet. How much
yeah.
food is that?
Oh my gosh, it was so much, and it was so good. It was a fun one. We came down to the wire too, because it actually setup takes like 3 hours, and prep before probably takes me like almost all day.
Okay.
Because I cut up all the cheeses, fold salami like in advance, put it like all in like Tupperware, everything. I feel really bad for the dogs because they have to be out of the kitchen the entire time, so they're like kenneled while I'm doing this. I'm like, and they're like, they know there's food there, and they're like, come on, mom.
They're just out there giving the Cheesy Couple bad Yelp reviews.
Right, exactly. They would be like on the top of the 1-star list.
Right.
But yeah, it's been crazy. I actually had a dental office reach out to us today at like 9 a.m. They said, can you do a last minute box to bring by the dental office by 1 o'clock? We want to surprise our staff since we're back in the office full time, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, sure. So I made that happen, and they were like, you will totally use you going forward. And there have been times where I've had to be like, I'm booked this X weekend, and instead of taking a client, just because like we actually have been so blessed and with being so busy with it, that I'm like, it's taken up almost every weekend, and I'm like, we have to have a weekend.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
But it's been fun. It's been like, it's always different. It's always, I don't know. I've been making it. I literally, like I said, grazing tables are my favorite. It's just like, it's an art form. And it's been nice having, I call PJ the muscle and the master salami folder. And
hold on. What does that even mean?
So there's like different ways to fold salami. You can do it into a rose. You can fold it in half into like a triangle. You can flip fold them. So he does all that, and he just like hands me salami while I'm like designing the table. It's kind of, I feel like it's been like, so everyone says we work really well together, and I do agree with them. Literally, we'll get there and we bring like almost every board we have, and we just like do a setup, and we will place the boards and talk about where we want to put things. And everyone's like, you guys are like on the same page the entire time. I'm like, we like do have like a vision of how we want it to look, and we talked about it before. We always make sure that like if there's any allergies or if there's any specifics that they want, that we make that happen. So then we make sure that those things stand out. So I don't know, it's really been like so fun.
That's awesome
for us, and so weird that we even did this. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a wild ride. Like, I don't even know, like this happened in quarantine of all things.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what we've talked to people before. It's a weird thing, because you would think that with quarantine, with everything shut down and just being more restricted, that it's obviously had a lot of negative effects on people and their well-being. But I always felt like it's really interesting when it comes to the creative side of people. And I feel like it's forced people, because it put people painted them in a corner. Like, you only have so many options. And then I feel like the creativity that's come out of it has been pretty incredible for some people. And it sounds like for you, the creativity turned into a business.
Yeah, I would have never expected that I'd be slinging meat and cheese.
Right. It's like hop off the bike, go back to the kitchen, and you guys are just putting these boards together.
Do my full-time job in between.
And the full-time job. Let me ask you this. Where do you and PJ get like a 25th hour in the day? Because this is ridiculous. I
know people honestly ask this all the time, because he's involved in racing. So every Saturday we're at the Placerville Speedway from March to November.
Are they letting people in? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but are they?
No, you're good.
At full capacity,
they are.
Or
no, we are at 25%. 25%, I believe. So we're selling 500 tickets and it holds 2,000. So yeah, that's 25%.
Okay. That would be
Yeah.
weird. But that's awesome. They're starting to let people in. That's great.
Yeah. So it's been so fun. And PJ works the PR and media and does infield interviews. And I work the beer booth when I'm there.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you're not just like hanging out there. You're actually like,
Yes.
you're doing
So
some work.
I work there as well. So we don't have a lot of time. That's why I've had to tell people,
Why
like,
are you doing this?
I
Why are you even doing
know.
this interview? What is going on?
I know.
Okay, well, hey, I definitely appreciate it. I feel bad. It's like last
No,
minute.
don't feel bad. I honestly don't even really sleep the night before I teach at 5:30 a.m. spin classes. I'm so terrified that I'm going to sleep through my alarm.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm up like every hour being like, did I sleep through it? Okay, I'm good. Okay, what time is it? Okay, good. Okay. We've had instructors. Feeling. There have been instructors at every studio I've ever worked at that have slept through their alarm.
Oh,
and
that's tough.
People ask me all the time, have you ever done that? I'm like, no, this is why I'm up every hour.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, perfect. Then I don't even know why we're going to wrap this thing up. We might as well just keep going.
Yeah, we'll go through the night.
Just there we go. And you just hop right into your spin class. But no, that's awesome. Like, I think some people are just built like that. And I think sometimes couples are built like that, where just on the go all the time. And it sounds like it doesn't always feel like work either. It seems like because you guys are both enjoying it and enjoying the process of, putting the charcuterie boards together or working at the raceway or whatever you guys are doing. It sounds like that has a huge benefit in it, right? Like, it's like, hey, it's super busy and there's probably times where it's stressful, but at least you guys both enjoy it. So that probably helps a little bit.
Well, and seriously, PJ with the racetrack, he loves what he does. So he's honestly like in his realm and having like the best time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I get, like I said, I can talk to a rock. So when I'm like serving beer, I'm like, enjoy the races. Like, what brings you out here? Like, have you ever been here before? Oh, your kid's never been here before, blah, blah, blah. Like, make sure you sit in these rows and make sure, like, watch out for the dirt and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. So it's been fun for me too. I mean, we've had some late nights and early mornings. Like just this past Saturday, we were at the track till probably close to 2 a.m.
Dang.
And then we had to come home and prep for a grazing table for a baby shower the next morning. And I was like, and then Easter, I took on too many orders and because I didn't want to let anybody down and say no to anybody for Easter. And then we were up till 4 a.m. Yeah, we were up till 4 a.m. actually doing those orders.
Dang.
So I know.
Hey, good for you guys.
I know. It's like we had to have sleep at some point. We can sleep when we're done. It'll be just fine.
There you go. That's what people that are busy like you guys say. So that makes
sense. I say all the time, like we want to have these like lazy days, and I swear we will like sit on the couch on a Sunday for like a few hours and we're like, do you want to walk the dog? Do you want to go get lunch? Do like all of a sudden it's just like we can't anymore. We can't like sit.
Makes sense.
It's
not in you. It's not in you. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, good for you guys. I'm sure a lot of people are happy with their boards on Easter and all the stuff you guys are doing. So it's awesome because people are definitely benefiting from it. So that probably makes it worth it too, right? Like,
oh my gosh, it's been fun to people like get back into things and like have people over and just enjoy, I don't know, communicating again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that being said, we will not make this a 4-hour podcast or however many hours are until your next spin class. But the last thing that we do on this show is we have the connection suggestion. And we basically, because it's called Connectable, we want to make sure that people are getting more connected. That's my favorite part of podcasting is I've learned about so many brands or organizations or people because of podcasts. So we always like to ask our guests if there's a brand, organization, a person, a restaurant that you think would be, worth our audience's time and that we should get connected with. We would love to hear it. And I'm interested because you guys, like we've said multiple times on this episode, you guys are really well connected to the community, and not just well connected, but you guys place a really high emphasis on getting connected too. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say and what the connection suggestion is.
Well, I think my connection right now is really to Placerville because I've just been like really becoming more like acclimated up there. So I think that I would say probably have two connection suggestions. One would probably be the Placerville Speedway.
Cool.
They have an Instagram and a Facebook and a Twitter, and they will talk about, so all the tickets are you have to buy online now because there's no in-person ticket sales right now. And so those go on sale every Monday for that coming week race. So I would say check out Placerville Speedway. They could really use the support because they couldn't race at all last year with fans. They tried a few races without fans, and it was really hard for them because they weren't making any money really. They were just trying to do it for the drivers. Excuse me. And then I would say check out Kaia Fit's new location in Placerville as well. Kaia Fit's mostly a gym for women. However, cycle is open to all genders. And so they have great bar classes. They have some like boot camp classes. They're always doing like different things. Like the other day they had like a stretching class that you can learn how to use your roller more for your body. And like I said, there's always classes all throughout the day. And they always have deals on memberships or your first 30 days. But yeah, so I'd say check out both of those in Placerville. Like they could really use your support. I mean, I feel like Folsom actually didn't do too bad. I mean, there's a lot of money in Folsom and a lot of people moved here from the Bay Area. And I feel like Folsom fared pretty well throughout the pandemic. I mean, obviously there were some casualties, but Placerville, I think, took a hard hit throughout the pandemic. And I would say definitely connect with Placerville Speedway and Kaia Fit in Placerville. They're both like within like 5 miles of each other. And I know it's up the hill, but it's cooler up there. And it's a different community and it's something different to do. So that'd be my two recommendations right now.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely go check those out I'm assuming they both have, I know Placer Speedway has an Instagram, and I'm assuming.
Yeah. And Kaia Fit Placerville has a Instagram as well.
Perfect. So make sure you guys check both of those out. Where can they follow you guys? And how many Instagram accounts do you guys have?
We're maxed out on both of us. So I have my personal page. I have the Cheesy Couple.
Yeah.
So pre-pandemic, we used to ride our bikes all over Folsom. We're going to start that up again, but before, since everything was closed and you couldn't hang out inside, a lot of the times you couldn't even hang out on the patio. It was just to go. So we have an Instagram called Cruising Folsom because we have our beach cruisers and we cruise around Folsom. And then we also have our dog Instagram, the Peterson Posse. And then I am involved with a rental company in Placerville as well called High Sierra Events. So I run that Instagram as well. So if you want to check that out. And then PJ has himself, and he has Placerville Speedway, and he has some other clients that he runs their Instagrams for as well. So he stays busy on his phone with his clients' Instagrams that he runs. So
okay, so I hope you guys are taking notes, or if you weren't, just run that back and listen to it again so you can follow them on all of those places. That's crazy. That's good though. That's awesome. I will say before we get out of here, I was bummed because just like around the same time that you guys started your Cruising Folsom, Rachel and I actually lived in Folsom for a little bit, and then we moved to a different city. So we just missed you guys. It's like, oh, we were in that area all the time. We probably would have seen you guys, but not as frequently these days. So
yeah, we're coming back now that things are like, we're in a different tier and things are allowed to be open. So we actually had talked about it tonight. And when I got home, and I was like, we have meals delivered every week. And I was like, we have a meal to make. Let's just make it from home.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, we're going to start it back up. Like I said, with the pandemic, it like literally put a halt. Our last post was at BJ's in Folsom, like probably 2 days before the pandemic hit. And so it wasn't really something that after that we could really keep going. So we're coming back.
Nice. So keep an eye out on that. Make sure you guys follow them. on all the social media platforms. You guys can follow us at Connectable Podcast on Instagram, Connectable Pod on Twitter, Connectable Podcast on Facebook, and Connectable Podcast on YouTube. So if you'd rather see this than just listen to it, check that out. And that's pretty much it. So, and obviously Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher, all those places that you love listening to podcasts. So Ryane, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
You guys have the open invitation. So if you guys ever want to come back and hang out, we'll give you
Let
more
us know.
time. We'll give you more time. Not, 7 hours or 8 hours, whatever I gave you, but we'll give you more time to get prepped and all that stuff. And
Perfect.
Yeah, it was fun. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.